Hello? Yeah? Hey guys, welcome to the Anti-Bullying Show. I'm Celeste and this is Alexis. So, it's called Perfect Like Me, so hope you guys enjoy it. Turn once or twice, till my way out blind fire. Bad decisions, that's alright. Welcome to my silly life. Mistreated, misplaced, misunderstood, no way it's all good. Didn't slow me down. Mistaken, always second guessing, underestimating. Look, I'm still around. Pretty please, don't you ever feel like you're less than perfect. Pretty please, don't you ever feel like you're nothing? You are perfect to me. You're so mean when you're tough. I love yourself, you were wrong. Change the voices in your head, make them like you instead. So complicated, look how we all made it. Such a fool of hatred, such a tiny pain. It's enough, I've done all I could think of. Chased down all my demons, I've seen you do the same. Oh, pretty please, don't you ever feel like you're less than perfect. Pretty please, don't you ever feel like you're nothing? You are perfect. No more words, scared, so I swallow my fear. The only thing I should be taking is an asshole. So cool and life. Try so try. I've done really for you because of everyone. Whatever they don't like my opinion, they don't get mad. Change that stuff, do it all the time. Why do I do that? You can cry. Oh pretty baby. Pretty please, don't you ever feel like you're less than perfect. Pretty please, don't you ever feel like you're nothing? You are perfect. Pretty please, don't you ever feel like you're nothing? You are perfect to me.
Weren't they amazing? Oh my god!
the freestyle dance.
Hello?
Jonathan, stop bullying the kids. You shouldn't be taking out your anger and frustration on other people. Why not instead find common ground and collaborate? After all, this is an anti-bullying show.
Up next is Michael singing one of his original songs.
Check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh my God, it's bright up here. You can go ahead and play a song whenever you want. talk about my lack of a father. Okay? Sure of the reason why you feel the need to run your mouth about my life, judging me on things beyond my control. I didn't ask to be this way, oh no, no. But every day about the way I speak, whether I am strong, whether I might be weak, one day. You seem to like to talk about my dad. He was never there. My brothers and my sister, they were elsewhere. Growing up without a father in my life, my mama was stressed and trying to make it right. You ain't even stressed no more. You kept me alive. Everything they say though I left behind.
Guest speaker!
So we got a couple of words for the spoken word artist that is about to come up and do her thing for us. So we gotta go ahead and let that start it off.
Woo! Love you! Y'all are making me uncomfortable.
Sorry.
Is currently working with high school students and their parents as a college and career advisor. She assists parents and students through the process of applying for universities and colleges, as well as alternative career paths. She has worked for the San Jose Unified School District for 10 years, from elementary school level to high school, teaching technology and PC applications.
She has also worked as a marketing VP for a Norwegian company, Corley, and also has worldwide data conversation manager at Hewlett Packard, where I worked 10 years. She lived in Norway, Japan, and speaks Norwegian fluently and a little Japanese. She's a summa cum laude graduate of Notre Dame de Namur, receiving her Bachelor of Science in Human Services with a counseling component.
Her book, Dignity Rocks, is a children's book used to open up discussions on bullying and dignity. It has been translated to a Spanish version and has been used in classrooms by teachers to open up discussions on core values and how to better care for one another. She has spoken at several universities and organizations around the world regarding rankism, as defined by Dr. Robert Phillip, children's rights, the somebody/nobody dynamic, youth dignity issues. Some of these include UN University of Peace, Costa Rica, Dublin University, Metaforum Society, Columbia University, Human Dignity, and Humiliation Studies. Now, without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and have Stephanie Hoyer come into the stage for
I feel like I should have a song or something. I'm not going to go up on stage. It would be nice to have a little bit of light if I could. Wow, what an intro. Thank you for all that. I feel very honored always to come back to Andrew Hill, which is actually where it all started with a lot of my work. I dedicate my presentation to Amanda Brownell. Amanda tried to hang herself in 2008 at Del Mar High School after she had received a lot of online harassment. She was called a slut, a whore, and was accused of spreading AIDS. One day it just became too much for her. So she tried to hang herself in the bathroom, and when her friend found her, she had been unconscious for 7 minutes, so she never recovered. And her mother, Ann Brownell, I met on this stage many years ago, and we worked together in anti-bullying campaigns. She sat by her daughter's bedside for 5 years. She never spoke again. She never walked. She never talked. And that's Amanda, and I dedicate my presentation to her. It all started when I worked at elementary school, Randall, and I was a computer technology teacher in 2004. And I wrote down, I feel like nobody went, and I felt like somebody went, and I had all the students give me their responses. These were 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, and I was teaching them how to use Word. So they would just type up things and put it in a little basket on the desk. And I started collecting them and collecting them and collecting them until they got to be a big pile. So all of the feedback that I got is from students, and I share that with you tonight because it changed my life. One evening in December, I took them all home and I started to read them, and I said, wow, 3rd graders feeling this way. We all know that's somebody feeling, and we all know that nobody feeling. Walking in a room, you're wrong color, wearing the wrong clothes, you're too big, or you're too thin, or you don't have your PhD. I've gotten that a lot at Columbia and even at the United Nations because I didn't have a PhD. So who are you to research? I know a lot about nobody's. I work in a high school. I hear the stories every day. So I collected them, and here's some of the feedback. I feel like nobody because I have no friends and people don't play with me. I feel like somebody when my teacher calls on me when I raise my hand in class, something so validating to children to be recognized. We all know that feeling. Hey, give me the right answer, right? But think a third grader having no friends and no one to play with them. I feel like nobody because I can't speak English good. I feel like somebody when we pick apples. This is exactly how my student wrote it, and I didn't change it. And it's so funny, because I still get teachers who get this book and they go, there are some spelling errors on page 24. Yeah, I get it. Thank you for sharing that, English teacher. A lot of my students have English as a second language. My daughter was brought up in Norway. She couldn't spell at all. And I can remember her trying to read out loud in the 3rd grade, and she couldn't pronounce the words, and her teacher intimidating her and calling her over and over and over again to humiliate her in front of the class. Well, that didn't last long. But as you know, when you have English as a second language, it is always difficult. In San Jose Unified, we have 17 different languages. And because I'm a college and career counselor, I run into a lot of cultural issues. You know, parents feeling humiliated or they don't want to ask for help, you know, because they can't speak the language. And this one always gets me. I love my graphic designer too, Simon. I found him in Germany. And the nobody is underneath the table. I feel like nobody because we yell at my house. We yell, yell, yell. I feel like somebody when I feed my dog and cats. That feeling of caring for others that we get when we feed and care and nurture them. The thing about this when I first got it was, because they were using Word, they could make it any size. And the yell, yell, yell went from 8 font to 10 font to 16 font. And it went from yellow to orange to red. So the psychiatrist that I ran all these by had a heyday with that one, right? Because we know what it's like to sit and listen to your parents or someone within your family screaming and yelling, and what a nobody experience that is when you're only 3rd grade. And he says, I don't think anyone is listening. This reminds me of the song this young man just sang about his father not being. What was your name? One who sang the song. Michael. Michael, that was awesome. And he cried, had to go outside and continue. I feel like nobody most of the time. My dad isn't here anymore. I feel like somebody when my dad comes back to visit. We get to play ball. Yeah, divorce is a reality in our society, but it's still traumatic and it's difficult to handle, not only for parents, but for children. They feel very nobody when they're left at school and not picked up because mom had the days all mixed up. That happened to me. I had a kid waiting till 5 o'clock because it was the wrong day and the parents couldn't get it together. And I could remember just her sitting there and crying and just feeling like nobody was going to pick her up. And she didn't have a home, and nobody could get it together, right? So when you find out that one of your friends' parents are separating for whatever reasons, have compassion. This is all about compassion and walking in people's shoes. And sometimes when you walk in people's shoes, your feet hurt. You might bleed a little bit too. Keep walking on like nights. I can tell you by the end of the evening you're going to hurt. But when we do have compassion, we open up our hearts to that situation. We very traumatic for teenagers. It's like a loss, it's like a death. So this is why I wrote the book, why I didn't write the book. This is why I gathered all of the feedback, was because of this one thing that rattled my world. I feel like nobody when I'm me. And I feel like somebody when I'm you. Because you've got the Karens, and you've got the iPad, and you've got the new iPhone 6, and you've got the Mercedes-Benz, and you've got the right skin color, and you're the right size, and you're this, and you're that. I can't feel good about just being me. I have to be someone else. I gotta dye my hair, I gotta do this. So I gathered up everything I had, and I went to Dr. Robert Fuller, who wrote Somebody's Nobody book, and The Abuse of Rank. He was my mentor. He lived in Berkeley, and I put it in a binder. And I remember going up, and I was really nervous, you know, because I had all this feedback. I had like 200, 300 of these Somebody's Nobodies from kids from 3rd to 5th grade. I had no idea it was going to grow like that. And so he sat there, and he had his glasses on, and I had glasses. And he looked at him, and I remember I was drinking tea. You know, what am I doing? What am I doing? He pulled his glasses down, he looked across the table, and he said to me, "This is your life's work, get it published." He turned the book and he handed it to me. And that was it. And from that day forward, it has grown. The feedback, went to the United Nations, went to a barrio in Costa Rica, did the Somebody Know Everybody experience where kids talked about being tied to beds and beaten, or brothers on methamphetamine and bad stuff, you know? So I had to live with it. It was a growing thing. So it was called I Feel Like Nobody Won, and I Feel Like Somebody Won, and then it got picked up by a publisher. Now it's called Dignity Blocks, because dignity is what it's all about. People can nobody you, and you've done it to somebody, I'm sure, but they can't take away your dignity. We all have the same dignity. We all belong here. Whatever our circumstances, we belong here, together. Dignity does rock. So then the teens started flooding me with emails and feedback, and I taught at spoke at some high schools and back east, and I just couldn't ignore it. You know, it was coming to me. It was hard to read, and sometimes I couldn't breathe sometimes because I'd have to read it, and I knew this was, you know, my calling, and I had to get their words out because words and sincerity are so powerful. I felt like nobody this year. Kids of my age are so judgmental just because I listen to rock and we're black. Students call me emo or goth. These two labels are hurtful. People say I cut myself in the halls. They make gestures of cutting. I know people talk about me behind my back and it hurts. They don't know me. Really, I'm a nice person, 16 years old, man. And when my daughter read this, because I shared a lot of my work, I have 2 children that are now in college and graduated. One of them graduated today in marine biology from UC Santa Cruz. Yay, Katrina! One of them had a friend that was cutting. I had never heard of it. I was like, what? You take a razor? She goes, yeah, that's why she always wears long sleeves and stuff. And when you get this information, you have choices, you know? You have choices to walk. You know, it's like a car wreck. You know, are you the person that just goes by and doesn't look? Or you just gawk and see who's bleeding? Or do you call 911? Or do you stop and you help sweep it up? You know? It's all about the level of care. So my daughter cared enough, even though it was a secret. She figured it was a dangerous secret, and we were able to get the young lady help. So it's a choice. She needed help. You don't take out a razor and cut your arms up. You don't need help, right? Professionals. This one makes me cry. This has the best, one of the best lines I've ever read. My brother feels like nobody. He has Down syndrome. At school sometimes I have to protect him because kids make fun of the way he talks and acts. Why? He just wants to hang with us. It makes me sad. Sad because they don't know him and he can soar like any other eagle. Let's applaud that line. That's a great line. Dang, I wish I wrote that line. But you get that feeling, you know. There's people here in this room who have people at home who have mental disabilities, physical disabilities. Sometimes they can't take you home with them because their mom hasn't taken her meds and she's locked herself in the bathroom. I have a student whose mother is paranoid schizophrenic, bipolar disorder, and when she doesn't take her meds, the girl wakes up and doesn't know if her mom will be in the hallway with a knife or if they're going to drive to frickin' Disneyland. Right? Mental illness is difficult to witness, grow up in, physical challenges. So how can you help? You know, how can you have empathy? How can you know that that person has the same dignity as you do? People with Down syndrome and who are challenged physically. You know? They can soar like any other eagle if given the opportunity. Never, nobody, anybody. Right? And the only time you look down on another person is to reach out your hand to help them up. I wish I said that line too, but that was actually Martin Luther King's daughter. Always corner your resources. I felt like nobody when I moved out of my house. I was 16 and a half. My life had become defined on how many times I threatened to call 911 and during violent confrontations between my father and older brother. My mother was hospitalized for 6 weeks with a crushed, broken kneecap while desperately trying to break up a family fight between my brothers. I decided that night it was safer to go. I wasn't ready. I soon missed the mashed potatoes and the roast beef on Sunday afternoons and having my laundry cleaned and neatly stacked. I pretended for a long time it was great to be on my own, but really, deep down inside, I just wanted to be a family. Quiet, safe, and peaceful family. That's me. I moved out when I was 16 and a half with a 31-year-old drug dealer, and that was safe. I know about violence. And in 2004, on December 5th, I was called to the bedside of my brother, who was dying. And he was an alcoholic. He was dying of cirrhosis of the liver. And we hadn't seen him in 20 years. He lived for 24 hours. And during that time, I took him off morphine and became conscious, and I was able to forgive him for the atrocities that he caused in our household. And that was a freeing experience, and I encourage people to forgive. If you carry these grudges around and you carry this violence that you witness, You cannot have empathy for others, and you can't teach. You become a victim. You want to go from a victim to a survivor to a thriver. And although I lost my brother, his gift now to the world is through me. So I can share this. And it's not easy to share. My mom's 94. I'm a caregiver for her. She was in the hospital like 4 or 5 times this year. And she asks me to take this slide out. Do you have to show that slide? Is it necessary? I go, yeah, Mom, it's necessary. But, you know, she was always, what will the neighbors say? You know, the neighbors have called the police, Mom, we know, you know. It's like you're shame and you're humiliated when you have these things going on at home. So I've always been an advocate for people to be honest about their situation so they can thrive. And even though it sounds like it was not a bad choice, it was actually a very good choice that I made. I don't promote drug use at all, but I do promote family, and that at the time was a safer choice for me. I would not have survived. So what can we do? There are cyber bullies, creepers, stalkers, and aggressors out there. And do you really care if somebody you don't know is hacking into your Facebook and posting things? Your reaction is very important to these social medias. And they're growing and morphing. It's really hard, and I'm on top of it. I mean, I'm at high school every day and talking to my students and feeling with them when they're posting things that are unkind about them, and what do we do about it? There's not much we can do, unfortunately, as administrators. As a matter of fact, Amanda Brownell's perpetrators were named in her suicide letter, which I used to carry around with me for a very, very long time because it's so poignant. She said, F you, so-and-so. I will haunt these effing halls. You know, and that just haunted me, you know, her last desperate words. So this perpetrator was brought in, and, you know, things were done in the district. But basically, it's very, very hard to charge people. Unfortunately, there's been more suicides, people hanging themselves because things are posted or videos or whatever. But there's really only a few laws to enforce. And as you know, as users of this media, you can create, you know, fake IDs and be posting things. What should you know, out there too. Excuse me for swearing. Sorry, Josh. Sorry. But I just think people like that are so coward, you know. They're in there, you know, ooh, I'm going to post this about you. So trolls are really, really hard to track, and they have access to so much information. And I mean, come on, I'm a college and career counselor. I know that colleges look at your Facebook page. And I know that if you have an email that says hothunk@gmail.com, that makes an impact on your admissions to that college. Seriously. I mean, on our senior cut day, all our seniors went to Santa Cruz and they posted on Facebook, posing with Tecate beers, you know, and our vice principal, you know, she called them all in and suspended them. I mean, come on. There's things that you can do to protect yourself and your privacy, but if you put it all out there and it's open for everybody, you're kind of asking for some feedback, especially in the 80s, you know, with your woo-hoo and your showing. You know, do you want someone to keep that and show it to your grandkids? Come on. You know, keep your junk in. But, you know, there's gossip and dirty and Twitter and Facebook. I worked with a lawyer for almost half a year with a student who posted on Dirty some really bad stuff about a person that she broke up with. And, you know, there was upset parents and threats of lawsuits and, you know, gangster stuff. Actually, get my mafia friends out. But we couldn't get it off dirty. You know, we offered to pay money, and it's still there. So what really can we do to defend ourselves? Well, first of all, you know, it's about a discussion, a debate, and dismissing it. If you have perpetrators in your school, you need to find out who's doing it if you can. You get the parties involved, you have a discussion, and then you try to dismiss it so it doesn't become a barrier for us to learn and create, because that's why we're here, to learn and create and have an education, right? And when that interferes, when people can't come to school, and I've had people not come to school because something was posted. We had some Gunderson gossip thing for a while. It was really treacherous, and we had to find the perpetrator and say, what are you doing? And bring it in, and have a discussion, and then you dismiss it. You know, you have to learn to move on. But you can't move on until you have dialogue, right? But here's the other thing. I'm writing a screenplay called The Dust Never Settles, and the idea is, you know, the dust never settles, it's there. But the idea is to spread enough space in between your challenges and your traumas and your drama so that you can walk among it, okay? It's a thread of your fabric, but it's not your outfit. And when people hurt you, yes, I get it. You know, someone called you a whore and a slut and posted this and that. I get that. But you have to have this discussion so you can dismiss it and move on. But there has to be a dialogue. And that's where all these wonderful staff members come in and each other. You guys are your own supporters. And when you see this stuff happening, you have to support each other. And sometimes you have to go to counselors and other people to help. Don't be the bystander. You know, say something and do something. You know, like, that's not cool. It's not necessary. It's kind of harsh. You don't have to humiliate the humiliators. If you bully the bully, then what's the point? Hey, you know, you're effed up and, you know, I'm going to take you down. Well, then you're just perpetrating it. You become the perpetrator. So there has to be ways of diffusing violent language. Delete your non-friends on Facebook. I don't know if anybody even goes on Facebook anymore. It's not so popular among our classmates. But, you know, have you ever gone to a party and then all of a sudden look somebody up and then you have like, I have like 30 people. I don't know how they got onto my Facebook. So I go through periodically and go, oh, I don't know these people. I don't even have any mutual friends. Who are they? So, you know, and set your privacy so that people can't look at your pictures and take your pictures and kidnap your pictures and open up a Facebook with your pictures, which has happened too. You know, I've seen that happen where they've taken pictures, especially of the young ladies who are feeling rather voluptuous and promiscuous, and they're selfie. You know, it's like, and then they create a Facebook page and have all these nasty things on there. Well, you're kind of asking for it if you open all your photos to public. So there's settings for that. Block people. Take breaks. How many, now be honest, how many of you sleep with your phone? Come on, raise your hand. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. And are you sleeping and you have that little thing set so it dings, you know, when a text comes in at 2:30, and you just have to know who in the heck is texting you at 2:30, right? Hey, what's happening? Although I have gotten ones bail me out, so it's kind of important sometimes. Also, don't encourage your friends to post or text when they're angry. There's a thing that happens with us when they're angry. Have you ever been with someone and they're really angry and they're doing that text thing? And then they wait and go, oh my God, I can't believe they said that. You know? So if you're doing that, if you're with someone, just divert them. Just put it down. I don't think you want to say you want to kill them. You know? It's not good to put in a text because it still is against the law. And you can be taken on the carpet for you know, violating people's lives. Also, give me 5. Josh and I always talk about this. Where are you, Josh? That's you. It's so hard. I feel like I'm like on a stage. I can't remember. Oh, there you are. We always talk about giving 5. Give me 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 seconds. But before you react. So sometimes if you can put down the phone and get off the Facebook or whatever is causing you all this angst and drama, just take a break from it for 24 hours and you can think more clearly. If you ever get in a fight with someone, just take a break and try to do math. 7 times 6 divided by 2 plus 14. You can't do it when you're angry. You cannot think logically and straight, and that's what happens to people. And that's how a lot of this happened with Amanda Brownell. Got out of hand. You know, because what I did, I knew who the perpetrator was. I called her. I wanted to know the story from her perspective. And there was a lot of stuff that went back and forth between them that got out of hand. And yes, there was a man involved, a boy involved. A mutual love interest, right? But it just got to be too much. And that's what you have to know. You never know when you come to school if the person next to you hasn't gotten any sleep, their parents have been fighting all night, their brother's in rehab, they haven't eaten, and they're being dropped off at school. I had a guy that dropped off his child at school and I heard him say that he hated her. I hate you. To a child, a 16-year-old girl, and she's expected to come in and go, oh, good morning, I'd like to learn all about English, you know, history. She could barely compose herself. So you just don't know if that one thing that you say and that one little bullying thing or that one little snide remark about their build or their shoes or their hair is just going to push them. It hurts when people do that. So that's the other thing that you can do as a group, as a school. You know, what Josh and I were talking about is doing the Somebody and Nobody project at Andrew Hill and just having a board that says, I feel like nobody went, and have people express, you know, the stuff that's going on with them. Because sharing our sincere stories also completes that empathy cycle. You know? People are much more likely to help you when they empathize with the situation that you're in. And I'm telling you, I have students that are homeless. I have a student right now that's emancipated, trying to you know, get free of her mother and going to court, so I hooked her up with a lawyer. I have kids that lived out of their car, and in the morning their mom would take them to the gas station to brush their teeth and to wash up. And this kid was coming to school, and people were making fun of him because he had the same clothes on. And he smelled, right? So what do? You say, come home with me. Use my shower if you want. Don't make fun of it, man. Because you just don't know how hard that single mom was working to get her children an education. She deserves a medal. I've met so many single moms who've raised just, and dads, I don't mean to generalize, but a lot of moms did such an excellent job just showing up and getting their kids to school. So be the arrow. When we think in the left column of revenge and retaliation and how we resent someone and we resist forgiving them, and we refuse to meet with them, and we are repelled by their presence among us, and we repress our hatred. And we really want to get to mutual respect, or at least some sort of renewal and restitution, redefining the relationship. I'm not saying everybody has to be all lovey-dovey, forgiving, let's be friends. Sometimes you will not get or agree with the person, but you need to respect their dignity. Okay? You acknowledge them. You don't. There's some people who have some values that I do not accept, but I have to acknowledge that they are there. So how do we, as counselors and as teachers and as parents, thank you all as parents for coming here tonight, and as students, how do we be individually that arrow to take us from the column to the column of respect and treating everybody like a son? Thank you very much. I don't know who's up next, so. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Paduma, wasn't that amazing? She was amazing. Now we're gonna have a short 15-minute intermission. If you haven't yet bought some food over there, it's gonna help the anti-bullying club for stuff. It's gonna help the anti-bullying club. And also, if you haven't yet, sign your name on the tree and poster in the back. Thank you.